welcome to another Baby Theater. Today we're going to actually be doing Alice in Wonderland. You ready for this? We're a train today. So, Alice was a pretty different girl. I mean, in school she was kind of picked on, you know. They kind of called her a lot of different names. She usually wore like a blue dress, and she had a bunch of these paper clips that she would like stick through her dress. So she was like paper clips all over her. And it's kind of like her armor, right? It's pretty cool, actually. Anyway, people would always make fun of her, but one day she actually went into a classroom that she hadn't had before. She kind of got a new teacher and everything. Teresa, her usual teacher is named Teresa, but this one, the teacher was going to be actually named Humpty. And you wonder, like, Humpty Dumpty, maybe these are like related somehow in some way. It's hard to say. But anyway, what kind of ended up happening is she's going around school trying to find this classroom, right? It's notoriously one of the most difficult classrooms to find. And so Alice was looking. Suddenly, she saw a rabbit. And she was like, what is a rabbit doing in school? And it had like a trench coat on. It was like a detective rabbit. And it was trying to solve some mysteries, I think, from what I remember. Anyway, so the next thing you know, Alice is following this rabbit. And really, since he's a detective, he's probably know where his classroom is. You know, he can at least deduct where she should go next. So she's trying to follow this rabbit. She's going around. The rabbit actually goes through this ventilation system in the school. And Alice, well, she just fit. Just barely. So she started climbing through this vent, and the next thing you know, she gets stuck in the vent. It's crazy. And so as she's in this vent, she's like, I gotta get out of here. Oh my gosh. She's scared. So she looked to her left, and there was a radiator there. She looked to her right, and there was a fuzzy little bear, randomly, named Barrington. Kind of strange. Where is she going, right? Well, she looks ahead, and suddenly she sees it. She can just move her arm out, and she sees a little bitty bottle that says, "Drink me." She's like, I'm not supposed to accept candy from strangers or drinks from strangers, especially. I mean, could get some kind of, poison in there or something like that. Or like sleeping powder. That's never good. And so what ended up happening is he goes, well, yeah, so the bottle actually starts speaking. And he says, well, hi, you should drink me. And she's like, what the? I didn't know you could talk. And he's like, come on, drink me. And she's like, well, I don't usually take drinks from strangers. You're really weird. And he goes, well, I'm not a stranger, I'm Timothy. And she's like, oh, well, that makes sense. I'll take it. So she grabbed the bottle, drank it down pretty quickly. All of a sudden, she shrank. And then she's in this ventilation system. Well, she's walking down this corridor. Now, it's a huge corridor right now. She's tiny. Well, the little bottle was like, yeah. Now it's bigger than her. The whole bottle was like, whoo. And the bottle was like, ah ha ha ha, gotcha. So she's like, what? I never wanted this. So she went forward. She's still trying to find the classroom. But at this point, she really needed to figure out what to do to escape this fate, right? So she turns a corner. Next thing you know, right in her face, a giant freaking rat, like so big. Like so big. And she's like, oh no. The rat was like smoking hookah. And she's like, wait, are you like a normal rat or are you like some kind of fancy rat? He's like, hello, I am a fancy rat, now that you mention it. What, you can talk? You can speak English? Oh my gosh, where'd you learn that? He goes, to be. To be. What's to be? English, he says. Don't yell. Oh, well, I'm looking for 5A. Acrobatics, he says. Yeah, acrobatics, how'd you know? And he's like, well, I have a feeling. But you know what? I think you have bigger fish to fry than 5A. And she's like, what kind of fish are you frying? Catfish? I like catfish. I would say this is more of a salmon. Maybe a sashimi. Well, they go on and on like that for hours. Until he finally says, well, I must be going down the ventilation shaft. And he started to walk away, but Alice didn't realize she was stepping on his tail. So his tail ripped off. And he says, why would you do it to me? And she's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, well, you should probably make it up to me, you know. Follow me down this corridor, and I'll show you the way. And she's like, okay, that sounds good. I'll follow you down. So she follows him down, follows him down, follows him down. Next thing you know, there's like this drop-off of the ventilation shaft. And the rat goes flying down it like crazy. Just woo! Like, in a flash. Well, what do we know about the rat? We don't know a lot. We know his name. Actually, we don't even know his name, do we? Wow. We knew the bottle's name, but we don't know the rat's name. Crazy. Anyway, she didn't even ask. How rude, right? So she goes, well, I don't really know this guy very well. But, I mean, seems like a good idea. Jumps down, easy. She just jumps right down. No problem. Yeah. She jumps right down. Next thing you know, she's falling. And she falls and falls and falls. And guess what? She lands on the rabbit. And the rabbit's like, I'm trying to solve mysteries here. You know, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, usually I'm bigger, so I'm glad I wasn't bigger. You know, he says, well, you are kind of tiny, he says. You are tiny enough that it didn't really do much damage, so. But it kind of hurt. Kind of hurt. It was like a bullet. Bullets hurt. And so, you know, Alice was like, oh man, yeah, I guess I better find 5A. Rabbit, do you know how to get there? He's like, I'm really busy solving a murder mystery right now. And she's like, murder mystery? Who got murdered? And he says, well, this girl named Alice got murdered. And she's like, well, wait, that's my name. What? And he's like, well, how is that possible that you're here, that if you're murdered? No, that's not your name. That's not your name. Couldn't have been your name. Had to be some other Alice. You're some other Alice, not the right one. And she's like, oh, I don't understand what you're saying, but okay, I guess. And next thing you know, she's like, yeah. Oh, here we go. Nom, nom, nom. burps. So next thing you know, she's like, I'll help you out with your murder mystery. I says, well, okay. But you can't be going by Alice, so let's get you another name. And she's like, okay. He's like, how about Alice? And she's like, okay, yeah. All right, Alice, come on. So they go forward, and he's actually investigating the Red Queen. And he tells her all about it. He tells her how the Red Queen has a bunch of different cards, and she's like a deck, and all this kind of stuff. And he thinks maybe she beheaded her. It's Alice. And the next thing you know, so they go up to the castle to try to find the queen, but she's actually gone out of town for a while. So they say, well, can we come in to investigate? And they're like, no. Not without probable cause, not without a warrant. And he's like, oh, dang. You know, he's just like a PI, private detective, you know, private investigator. And so he can't really get a warrant. So they're like, okay, well, let's sneak into the castle. And Alice is like, well, no, isn't that naughty? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And so she's like, well, okay, I guess so. Why not? So they go into the moat, right? And they like swim, and they find a little grating there. And the next thing you know, they're under there, and they find an entrance into the castle. So they get in there, and they crawl in through a crawl space, and there's like this door, and it's like really huge to Alice. But right next to it says, "Eat me," which is kind of an insult when you think about it. And the rabbit's like, why would you know, what is that, you know? And she's like, I think I've seen something like this before. Timothy, is that you? And, yeah, it's me. I'm Timothy. How'd you know it was me? And she's like, well, I saw the wrapper. The wrapper looked the same. And he's like, you got me. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna eat you. So she eats him. Well, you know, he was like a piece of cake at that point in time instead of a bottle. And the rabbit's like, why would you eat that? Like, that's gross. Right off the floor? There's dirt on that. Oh my God. So unclean. It's like eating out of a dumpster. And she's like, well, I think I know what it does. Then next thing you know, she grows so big that she blows up the whole castle. And the rabbit's like, he gets crushed. Bones break and everything. And the whole castle blows up. So now, Alice is responsible for this huge, massive destruction. So, and then she's already trespassing and breaking and entering. Like, she's got a long rap sheet now. So she's on the run, you know, and also murder, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about that. But next thing you know, she's on the run. So she's like trying to find, these hounds are trying to hunt for her and everything like that. The local FBI is trying to take her out, you know. But what ends up happening is she ends up finding a little tea party, right? And you've got the Mad Hatter, and you've got this little mouse. It's pretty cool. And you've got like Cheshire Cat. He's like big teeth, and he's like like definitely not a normal cat by any means. And next thing you know, like, so she's like having a little tea party all of a sudden, and they're like, yeah, join us, you know. Well, she joins them, and they all drink the tea. And the tea is laced with something. And they're like having all kind of visions and things like that. It's pretty hardcore, really, when you think about it. Like, it's like all kinds of crazy. And then they, and so then the guards find them. And they're like, we found you, didn't we? Is that Alice? And they're like, no, this is Janie. And they're like, Janie? Who's that? Well, she's from a class, 5A, you know. Like, 5A? Well, I'm going there right now. And, you know, good thing Alice left. Because whatever was in that tea, like, the tea party, they drank way too much and, like, OD'd. It was hardcore. And so, yeah, they didn't make it. So, good thing Alice got out of there. But anyway, they actually guided her over to 5A, and she walked in. The whole time, class was canceled. So she didn't even have to go to class that day. What a waste, you know? She could have just stayed at home. What a bummer. The end.